Thank you for joining me and my friend Paracelsus. Let no one who can be his own belong to another. Approximately 500 years ago, a medical doctor who was also an alchemical philosopher had the belief that locked within each individual's personality was the secret to their own health. Now, in order to determine if this was true, Paracelsus made it a point to meet, work, and learn all he could about as many people as possible. Now, he was not interested in learning some generality. He wanted to observe how people reacted under all circumstances and pressures. Through his contact with people, he made them happy, he would get them mad, he would get them intoxicated, all the time observing their actions and reactions. Now, he also looked back into the people's lives to find out why healthy persons were healthy and why sick persons were sick. Now, one of his conclusions was that some people were healthy and happier because they seemed to be better people. They appeared more moral, reasonable, and less opinionated. Now, Paracelsus discovered that disease increased and health diminished as false opinions multiplied within an individual. Sickness increased as ambitions increased. People who were content in their life were in better health than those who were discontented. Now, another observation of Paracelsus was individuals who lived a well-integrated, relaxed personal life, even though they were of comparatively low degree of intelligence, were in most ways in better health than those people whose lives were in constant conflict. Another striking observation was many persons living in unhealthy areas near swamps or other toxic areas did not sicken. He wondered, how is this possible? Some people were sick and others were not. Now, he noted that individuals under great world pressures, such as war, religious disturbances, invasions, or those living under tyrants, some of these people were miserable and others were not. So Paracelsus wondered why one individual in a city who is taxed too much becomes unhappy, sick, and finally destroys himself, and another individual under the same pressure, being taxed equally, accepts the burden, remains happy, and adjusts his life. Now, eventually he came to the conclusion it is something in the individual that determines the degree of his fortune or misfortune. One of his major conclusions was a person's primarily sickened himself, and it was not just the outward circumstances that made the person ill. Now, after much observation, thought, and meditation about life, Paracelsus came to the conclusion that while pressures, circumstances, and conditions surround us, there is sufficient evidence it is the reaction of the individuals to prove it is not the pressure from outside, but the reaction within. If you take a person and put him in a room, close all the windows and doors, he will gradually kill himself by poisoning the atmosphere around him. He will suffocate as a result of the poison he breathes into the air around him. Now, if there is no way to purify the air, the person will suffocate due to a lack of oxygen. Now, Paracelsus observed that human feelings kept in a confined space within an individual with no ventilation will eventually lead to disease and ultimately to a person's death. When a person blocks circulation of any part of nature and draws a line of limitation which sets aside an area in which he lives, he will ultimately poison himself. For the remainder of his life, Paracelsus worked with the inner aspects of his patients as much as he did with treating the outer body. When you realize that Paracelsus lived in the early 1500s, his observations and his stunning medical successes are quite profound. Now, his greatest adage was, let no one who can be his own belong to another. We each hold the power to ultimately decide how someone or something will affect our life. My point of this video is for you to understand It is our inner beliefs that affect our outer health. In love, with love, and through love, I send this to you.